Right.
I'm making plays. I'm making hits. I'm making plays. I never miss. Haters gon' hate. Yeah, they gon' hate. But look at the clips. Just look at the clips. At the end of the day, I was made for this shit, dog. I was made for this shit. Nothing but green grass in my view. Hit him for 50 yards up the middle. All of my rushes are ready to move. Tell your quarterback, head on the swivel. Came all this way, so we hungry as hell. If we ain't winning, we ain't leaving the field. Overtime, now the shit getting real. Double overtime, shoot for the kill. I put it all on my shoulders. Give 100 till it's over. All of this ice in my veins, tell me, how could there be anyone colder?
Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome into the Arrowhead PM podcast. I am your host, DG, in the building. I got my dog, my main man with me, my boy Trizzy. Trizzy be the name on Twitter, man. What's good? What's going on, bro?
What's up, man? What's going on, man? Appreciate y'all, tuning in once again to another episode of Arrowhead AM PM.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
boy
yeah.
DG hosting us up today.
Yeah,
So
just
what's up,
just
man?
just us two tonight, man. Of course, around the holiday times, people get busy, things of that nature. People got family, so
Yeah,
respect all that, whatever. Hopefully, all the rest of our guys are having a good time, sharing those time with their families, and sharing some really happy moments. But we couldn't leave y'all hanging, man. We wanted to
yeah,
come in tonight and talk to y'all about these Chiefs, man, and being 10-1 up until this
absolutely.
point. Chiefs get a big narrow victory in Carolina against the Carolina Panthers, winning 30-27 this week, and now move into next week, going into Black Friday to play the hated Las Vegas Raiders. So we're gonna cover all that tonight. Talk about a few things, but man, what was your initial thoughts about the Panthers game?
Um, well, I know people are probably a little bummed about, the having a win by a field goal and all that stuff, but it's football, and that's just nature that it goes. You get a organization that gets to measure themselves against a better franchise who's been winning and are back to back defending Super Bowl champions. So, it's a time for you to come out and prove yourself. And I thought Bryce Young just did a great job of taking advantage of that opportunity. And unfortunately, we were the writers of the story, but. For those guys again to go out like Andy Reid kind of touched on it at the end of the game, for those go out to go in week out, take these teams' best shots. These guys are coming fully prepared to, kind of knock down the champs. And each week you got to come strong, for these last couple of years, last 4 or 5 years or so, just been, keeping that that hierarchy of just being an elite squad. So it's going to be games like that, unfortunately. But I think this team probably got their wake up call, at least defensively. I'm hoping so. But offensively, I thought we did a great job of moving the ball down the field, and not only that, capitalizing in the red zone. We were able to move the ball with Kareem Hunt. I thought P. Ryan had his best showing of the year as well. Thought he did some good things as well. So there's some positives and some negatives to take away from it. The defense just has to be better. We'll get into that a little later.
Yeah, yeah. Initial thoughts from me is, I think we as fans don't realize sometimes how hard it actually is to win in this league.
Yeah,
Especially when you look at records and how people have performed in previous games. But I think we also have to take into consideration that this is a week to week league. You're not gonna play as bad as you played uh, last week, and you're not gonna play sometimes as good as you played, the previous week before. So I think that's kind of the assumption of this coming out of this game. You know, when you're the Chiefs and you're back to back champions, um, you've been on top so long. I think you each week and week in out, you're gonna get every team's best shot. Every team is looking to knock you off. You kind of had that target on your back at this point. So I think you kind of have to go into some of these games knowing that the guys on that other side, they get paid and they're professionals as well too. They want
yeah,
to go out there and win a game just as much as you do. They want to beat you. Um, it's a benchmark game for a lot of teams, and I feel like it's a measuring stick game for teams like the Panthers, who have kind of been struggling these last couple of years, to kind of get things, righting the ship down there in Carolina. So yeah, man, it's one of those things that you got to be prepared for everybody's best week in and week out. I know a lot of fans want to see blowouts and see the team Chiefs kind of take care of these teams early on and make it a little bit easier game on the nerves, but it doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes you got to win these games. I think Marty Schottenheimer said it best: win your games at home and win the games you're supposed to win. And doesn't matter how it look, doesn't matter how you get it done. Just do that, and you'll be in good position at the end of the year. So I think this is one of those games the Chiefs are going to look back. We'll all probably look back, especially if they get to the goal where they want to go and say, I'm glad we were able to squeak out that win in Carolina. Or that.
Absolutely. Yeah. You
Yeah,
know.
it just goes to show you the Chiefs can win in multiple ways. It doesn't really matter how it looks. Uh, at the end of the day, they're gonna make the plays necessary to win the game. So, um, yeah, but some guys had great days, man. Well, we'll move into one guy I felt like had an amazing day and has really been stepping up, man. Lately, number 83, Noah Gray, has really stepped up for this offense. It's kind of becoming a point where we might be talking about him maybe being the future tight end of this team once Trav is ready to step away, and showing that trust for Pat and the connection that they have. How do you feel right now about the connection between Noah Gray and Patrick Mahomes?
Well, I mean, he's a guy who's been a trusted vet over the years. I mean, his skill set is kind of underrated. Obviously he's playing against. I mean, playing with one of the true Hall of Famers in this league. Who a guy who is to me is still one of the elite guys in this league, not only at his position, just in the NFL in general. So when you're sitting behind a guy like that and you're getting to learn his day to day things and his notables and the things he points out and the things he can feel and see on the field, it gives you an advantage. And I think this year, I think we've been able to see him kind of put all of that into advantage. And I think the Chiefs have trusted him more. You see the Chiefs extended him in the beginning of the year before the Baltimore game, and he went out and played well. He responded well to that. And I think he's had a great year, and this game was just, no surprise for us because we know Noah Gray is trusted in our offense, and Andy Reid really relies on him not only in the passing game but in the run game as well. So it's cool to see Noah Gray finally, the fruits of his labor kind of showing up on Sundays in a better way than we've seen, probably in his career. So he's having a career year for us. I hope he can continue to ball like that. I
Before
hope
the
he continue.
halftime break.
Did you
Nah,
hear that? That
yeah. But nah, I
was
hope we
funny.
can
What is
continue
it?
to feed him, man. He's having a great year. I think Andy Reid just did a great job of using him. Noah Gray is so underrated in his understanding of defenses as well. The way that he run routes and the way that he's able to kind of manipulate defenses as well is kind of similar to what Trav can do. I wouldn't say it's on Trav's level, but it's kind of peaking up as you can see him throughout the weeks, just getting better with his route running, understanding where he needs to be and where the ball's going. So we love Noah Gray here, and obviously the extension is paying off because he's having a great year. So hopefully we can continue to highlight him and continue to work our tight end room. Seems like we're gonna have to rely on those guys as we continue to run the ball successfully. That gives us play action opportunities with the tight ends and the receivers.
Yeah, yeah, it's been great to see the maturation process happen for Noah Gray. You can clearly tell he's getting a good grasp of this offense. After I think this is his fourth year, I believe, fourth. So going into your fourth year, you can clearly tell that growth, that process of him, kind of sitting behind Trav for a while. And this is why I tell people all the time, like some guys, man, it takes some years to develop in this league and really find your footing in this league. People
Absolutely.
think you're supposed to come in and just have instant success, and it always doesn't work like that. Um,
Absolutely.
it takes time for you to grasp, the full knowledge of a playbook, especially from a Hall of Fame coach like Andy Reid up until this point. So I think Noah has exemplified of that process and him learning, sitting back and just absorbing everything that they're throwing at him, and it's really shining on the field, and that connection between him and Patrick Mahomes. You can tell Pat is really starting to trust him a lot more, especially in certain situations. And it's great to now have, that other option that you can kind of go into. I think a lot of people still at this point are still kind of sleeping and viewing him as more of an underrated part of this offense. And I think it could be something for them in the playoffs as they move forward. They could really turn out to be a weapon, and that teams are actually going to have to actually still game plan for up until this point, which I think, in my opinion, opens up more of this offense for you, especially up the seams and things of that nature, especially stuff for Travis Kelsey, kind of taking that pressure off of him as well to have to carry the tight end room at this point. So glad to see what Noah's been able to do. I think he's becoming a huge part of this offense moving forward, and clearly you can see that if there is a part where Trav is ready to retire, I think the franchise is in good hands with leaving it with Noah and to carry that torch on or whatever.
Absolutely.
As much as we love to talk about, man, the positives, we gotta talk about the negatives, man. You know, Chiefs, although they do pull out a victory, there was some ugly in this game as well too. Um, Particularly on the defensive side of the ball, I know a lot of people had issues and concerns, especially going into this week about the defense. Up until this point, hasn't been their best performances these last 2 weeks. Probably not up to what their standards are up until this point. I think first half, I feel like they did a really good job of bearing down in the red zone area, holding the Panthers to field goals and not giving up touchdowns at that point in time. I think if that happens, this is a very different game. So that's one of the positives I do take away from it. But one of the negatives also has been the inability of this defensive line right now to get to the quarterback up until this point. So there are a lot of issues I feel like are going on with that. I think it's also kind of having this effect on the secondary a little bit because I think both of those things work hand in hand. What are your thoughts at this point about the defensive line and how can they improve going further on to the season?
Well, two things can be true. I think it kind of begins again, with the offensive struggles and the injuries. I think, you come into the season knowing that you're gonna lose a guy like Snead, right? So you go out and you get a guy like Hollywood and you draft Worthy and you bring him along with Rice and Kelsey and all the McCole Hardman and those guys, and kind of change up the receiver room, and we kind of seen the benefit of it from training camp, just going out there and seeing the guys and being on the field, they just look different, right? So obviously, that you kind of lose a little talent on the back end, but the positive from that is Jalen Watson was playing very well before he got hurt. So the defense looked kind of similar, and then you lose him. So obviously, the injuries, kind of play a part of into it. But I think just the defensive struggles along with the pressure, I, I do want to say, having the talent there and having the pressure goes hand in hand. When you're getting pressure and getting sacks, obviously it's making your defensive corners look better. And if your corners are really locked down and they're really making it difficult for the quarterback to find throwing lanes or get it to their receivers, then obviously that gives more time for the defense to get there on a blitz or get there with just four. So two things can be true. I just think that we're probably struggling with our play calling and with our scheme. Sometimes like I feel like our scheme demands a little bit more than what we have as far as personnel wise.
Mhm,
Like we probably have the play call right, but we probably just don't have the guys to do it.
mhm.
So I think we just really got to get better in the aspect of just finding those two things and making that work. Kind of finding that magic there. I know Spags would be better at that in the playoffs. Certain things that you don't want to show. certain looks and concepts for the defense that are probably things that you want to keep off limits during the regular season. But I mean, the struggles have been apparent these last 3 weeks. We kind of seen teams kind of do what they want to all 4 quarters. We really haven't seen much pressure. We haven't seen any really good coverage. Even McDuffie has been kind of on the back end of his play. So these last couple of weeks as well. So I think we just got some figuring out to do more than anything. I would love to see the guys put together a full game of just consistency of them getting to the quarterback, getting pressure, getting stops, getting consistency. They've been horrible on third downs, and just giving up a lot of chunk plays. You're giving up a lot of 15 to 20 yard plays. Just been hurting us. Giving us some third down plays, giving us some fourth down plays. Just uncharacteristic stuff that Spags kind of touched on a little bit. Um, we just got to get back to our identity, and that starts with Chris Jones, obviously setting the tone for our defense, and then, the veterans going out there and making, the defense work, communicating, getting the right plays on the field, getting the right guys in the right group. So I feel like we hit our stride. It's still November. We obviously want to start getting cooking up during December and towards the back end of that, because we're going to gear up for the playoffs and try to go on this run again. So I think we definitely have some figuring out to do. Luckily, we got just a smidge a bit of time for Spags to kind of get ready, and we get some guys back. Charles Minute, who gets back, he plays on Friday, so I know that's exciting for him to be able to have a guy like that come back and kind of work Uche in a little bit more and try to see if we can get some pressure.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking to your point about Hugh, see if I can bring this up real quick. That is it is a true fact, man. Charles Omenihu will be back on the field as of Black Friday against the Raiders. Announced it himself on Twitter. So excited to see 90 back out there helping this defensive line get after it. Don't know how many snaps he's actually going to play. Would assume that it's probably going to be pretty limited.
Yeah,
Maybe in some certain situations, third down, stuff like that, that he'll probably be in on some of those plays or whatever. I think he brings a tenacious attitude to this defensive line. Something that I think that they kind of been missing this year. A little nastiness to this defensive line. I think he brings a little bit of that. Um, we seen glimpses and flashes of that last year. Obviously had a great last a great year last year, coming off the suspension and getting 7 sacks. I think in a like 11 game span, which is crazy, man. So came in and made a huge impact after that suspension, and hopefully he can come back in after this injury and then make a huge impact for us as we get to that playoff push up until this point. So glad to have him back, man. Can't wait to see what he can bring to this team. I know it's going to be a dope dynamic having them. To the defensive line struggles, man. I think, in my opinion, the edges at this point have to be a lot better. You have to get a lot better edge play. I know 95. Chris Jones is constantly getting double teamed, doing his thing in the middle to try to wreak havoc. Still leads the league and pressures from that position. So that means that he is doing something. He is creating some kind of pressure up until this point. But I think it's been a lot of creating pressure, but not finishing all the way
yeah,
through. And I
yeah. We just
know.
got. No, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. No,
No,
go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say we just got to be able to win the one on ones, and I think having Charles Minute back definitely helps with that. That's all I was gonna add.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely have like having a guy that can um, go out there and dominate their one-on-one matchups. Would love to see that more from Mike Dana and guys like George Karlaftis. I feel like those guys really have to step up to
Yeah,
this
they
point.
do.
I don't think they've played up to where their standards are, especially for a guy like George coming off a year where he had 10.5 sacks last year. It really seemed like he was really turning that corner, and then this year it's kind of just been a slow start. I know that every year it's not going to go the way you want it to, where you have double digit sacks or anything of that nature, but you would like to see just a little bit more impact from those positions. Mike Dana too, coming off the injury. I know it's kind of been tough coming off that pec injury, and trying to get himself acclimated back to game speed. Obviously had the sack flashed some to me in that Panthers game. I think there was a couple times he won his one-on-one matchups, especially early on in the game. Felt like he won a matchup and he clearly got held. I don't know where the flag was on that play. I know a lot of people will say it's probably just because it was a rip move or whatever, but he got held in my opinion.
I've
Still,
seen
so
it.
it affects you from getting to the quarterback sometimes as well too. But you can't blame everything on the refs or whatever. Got to play through it up until this point. So I was gonna ask you as far as this last game, do you feel like Spags in this situation was a little bit too over aggressive as far as the blitz packages and time, when the blitz and things of that nature, especially with the personnel that you had out there.
I just think that I wouldn't say over aggressive. I think he was just, maybe you can use that word. I would just say that, he was just a little caught up in the moment. When a quarterback comes out there, he's not really supposed to play that well. All of a sudden, he's lighting it up, finding guys wide open, putting the ball on the money. Doesn't really seem bothered by your scheme and what's going on. You kind of want to hit a, acceleration button for him and try to speed things up a little bit. So I think that's what Spags was trying to do. In hindsight, I do think that he could have eased up with maybe showing the pressure and maybe changing the picture a little bit more than actually bringing the guys, because we don't have the guys to sit there back there, and just be one on one. We've seen, situations where it didn't go our way. So I would just like to see in the future that, Spags be a little bit more, um, how can I say, knowledgeable of, understanding who's on the field and, understand the situation. I
Mhm,
think he's been good at that, up until these last 3 weeks. It's just situationally, he's just been put us into some bad situations.
mhm,
Sitting the house on 3rd and 12 and 3rd and 13, putting your teams on one situations, causing the other team to get flags and giving them opportunities to take advantage of stuff like that. I just feel like it's just bad football. Even if you do have a good defense, or if you do got a good front seven, so what? If we get burned and it's 8 people in coverage, we just gotta live with it instead of just trying to make the guys do things that they're not really capable of. I feel like he'll get better at that. Towards the time, especially towards the end of December, we definitely got to be better with understanding the situation and understanding the personnel that we got. A little frustrating to see Bryce Young do that. I understand that Spags, was trying to do everything he could to make it, speed up, but not necessarily do too much. But in moments like that, just go out and play football. Let the guys fly around, and if you got to put some stuff on film, put it on film. But it's only so much you can take. Just be mindful of the things that you're doing and putting out on film. Obviously, you want to do that, but at the same time, you just can't allow a guy to just slice you up and continue to put get back guys in bad situations where they haven't been good at. So I just didn't understand some of it, but I think we'll be better down the line. Just hopefully depending on Spags and him being better, understanding the personnel grouping and what we're putting on the field.
Yeah, I think going into this game, so far you've had the personnel to kind of get away with some of those blitzes, be able to execute on some of those things. But I think this game, um, you've gotten up to the point in the season where a lot of that stuff is on film now, and teams kind of know how to prepare for it. And I feel like the Panthers this week were really prepared for some of those situations, especially Bryce Young. There was a couple times where it blitz almost got home. It's just he just got rid of the ball at the right time.
Yeah,
It gets
they,
out of
they,
his hands.
they
Um,
were doing a lot of that check release stuff that the Bengals were doing in week 2.
yeah.
They were guys were staying home to protect it, and they were leaking out. And, we were just didn't have anybody home, so we got to
Mhm.
be better with that check release stuff, and we got to have somebody in the area at least to make it complicated, or we got to get to the quarterback. But we can't keep allowing stuff like that on film to just be obvious, like 15 to 20 yard gains.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like they did a excellent job of really attacking the slot position against us. There was a couple times where Shamari Connor got got caught in there being in the slot a little bit, and I think that's a matchup for him that's not very favorable
Yeah,
for him. I'm not saying that he can't be that guy from time to times, but I think that that's a position of him being in the slot is kind of uh, there can be some mismatches, especially if you have guys in that area that can really run their routes and know how to run their routes with certain leverage um, at points and times in the game. I also think there could be a chance for you to kind of go to a personnel change at points during this game. Um, I know a lot of people, some people kind of said question, whether he probably should have played Josh Williams a little bit more, some especially in some of those man-to-man situations, and then allowing Josh Williams to play on the outside, but also moving Trent McDuffie, who I feel like is your best slot corner. To me, in my opinion, is all pro at that. Um, Moving him back into the inside. What would be your thoughts as far as them, playing Josh Williams a little bit more and allowing Trent to kind of move back to that inside and then moving Shamari Connor back to kind of that robber safety role that he's really good at playing.
Well, see, that's where it gets tricky at with us because we had a guy that was locking on your best guy, and when you have that luxury on your team, a guy like that, and you get rid of him, now you have to put guys back in situations where they don't really excel at because you're so short-handed around talent in the room. So you lose a guy like Snead, and now McDuffie, who I would say is a little better than Snead, but I think Snead is a little stickier with coverage. I feel like Snead just has a little bit more of that veteran understanding and tenacity. And McDuffie is just more of a finesse, just a baller. He's just a ball hawk or just a gem. He's a diamond. He's one of those guys, but he's been able to get and take advantage of because he's a little smaller. So
Yeah.
when stuff like that happens, you have to put him on the best guy because you can't afford it to be Jalen Watson because you don't. He's not your best corner, and then obviously we seen Josh. Obviously in the Bengals game not do so well with that. So it gets a little worrisome. This is a part of the defense where I was a little concerned about earlier on in the off season when you don't address that. Going the measuring stick of the I ain't gonna say the room, but you don't really have a lot of chances to be wrong right now,
Yeah.
especially for the thing that you're going for. So I would have loved for us to, shore up Snead and, bring back everybody, but fortunately that's not how the business works. So, we had to deal them off and, get some picks for it, which I understand, but this is the cost of that. You start to see things where, things that you needed to solve, but you had to pay the big guy as well. So I think it's a more so a thing we can fix maybe with bringing the Minahu back and getting some pressure back. But I think that keeping McDuffie on the best guy would probably be our best option. And trying to get guys better in man coverage and getting them understanding of leverage and getting them in situations to where they understand and routes that'll be called on that certain down. So maybe we can be better in those situations. But um, I'm willing to try whatever works at this point. They just got to get better. It just got to get cleaned up because these last 3 weeks just haven't been good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, moving on, and especially in the secondary, I feel like there was some negatives, but I do think there were some positives as well too. And a lot of people may not agree with the positives that I think, but ultimately, I want to talk about a guy who I feel like responded to the criticism, especially from the week before, very well. Nazi Johnson, I think, really stepped up in this game. Played a lot better than he did from the previous week. I know a lot of people had their criticisms about him in the game that he actually had against Buffalo, and I feel like this week he responded well to that criticism, went out there and did what he had to do. What are you seeing right now from Nazi Johnson, knowing that this is also a position that I think that a lot of people don't realize that he's actually playing out of position at this point in his career. But what are you seeing from Nazi Johnson that you think is really helping this defense at this point in time at least stay serviceable?
Well, I think his instinct is probably one of the best things that stick out to me. I know he's coming back from an injury. He's coming back from an ACL, so he's not 100% himself either. But I think his instinct. This is his second week. I think where he's led the team in tackles. He's coming up and noticing where the ball's going and trying to get there and make a play, which is important. We need an instinct guy. We need guys who can find the ball, and I think Spags does a good job of putting guys together who excel very well at that. So those are one of the things that stick out to me as far as coverage wise. I think it's just a little unfair, just we had 70 sacks last year, and as good as Snead and McDuffie were last year, when you got a team, that's getting that many sacks, I think we were second in the league at that point when we finished the year. When you got a team that's generating pressure like that, it's going to look a little better on the back end when, guys don't really have to cover because they look up and the quarterback is on the ground or fumbling the ball. So, um, needless to say that I think Nazi is getting into his feet. I think coming back from an injury can be tough. Getting that straight line speed, trusting yourself, you getting that feel back, getting your feel back with your instinct, and making the body match all of that can be difficult. So. Battling back from an injury, and he's starting to show a little bit. His instinct is coming back. Once he gets his feet under him, I think he'll be a guy. Even if we do get Jalen, that'll be great, but at least Nazi had that experience. So no matter where we put him at when Jalen gets back, I think he'll be ready for the role.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree to all your points. I think it's tough when you people make it seem like you're the scapegoat the week before, and then now you have to step in and really go out there and try to silence the critics. So I felt like he did a really great job of that, just being present of the moment of what's been going on, realizing that you have to play better, and go out there and have that confidence and that swagger to know that you can get the job done. Um, so I'm tremendously proud of what Nazi Johnson has been able to put out on the field. I didn't have really lofty expectations of him. Just when you're thrusted into that position, you got to step up, do your job, and try to do it to the best of your abilities. And that's all I really ever really ask from him at this point in time. So hopefully he continues to keep that rolling, and continues to keep shining out there on the field. So we'll move on, man. Of course, Panthers week is there and behind us, man. 10-1. It's only so much we can talk about that matchup, but we'll move on to this week's matchup, which is Chiefs versus Raiders. The vaunted, hated Las Vegas Raiders ride into town on Black Friday. Fitting that it's Black Friday that you have to play this team as
Hmm.
well. Hopefully, is a very Black Friday for them. But yeah, Raiders come into town obviously after last week losing to the Broncos, also losing Gardner Minshew to season-ending injury with him breaking his collarbone. So now Raiders will be starting Aiden O'Connell in his place, but Aiden O'Connell is also dealing with the injury to his hand, so it's been a little bit limited there in practice as well. There may be a point in time if he can't go that we may see Desmond Ritter at this point. So not sure what the Raiders are really gonna do at the quarterback position. I know that all those things play more in favor to the Chiefs up until this point. It's always good when you get to face a backup quarterback who hasn't practiced as much, hasn't been involved as much in the offense. So I expect them to have a very great game plan put together for them to go out and execute and try to go out and put a beat down on the Raiders and give us all a good Thanksgiving Day present, as you could say, maybe an early Christmas present. But what are your keys to victory against a Raiders team that's been struggling?
Yeah, another divisional opponent. I know that usually these games are a little tighter, but I think we kind of already kind of scheduled to put a whooping on the Raiders, especially after all of the stuff that's been going on with them in the off season and all the noise and stuff. So My keys to victory really are just one, just one in the trenches. I think both sides got to be better. I know people give the tackles a lot of stuff, but everybody besides Creed Humphrey been playing horrible. You know that they just got to be better up front. You know we got to start identifying guys better. Obviously, we know the tackles got to be better, and hopefully we get a guy that's we just picked up a guy by the name of Humphreys who maybe can add to that. But those guys just got to be better. Coming up, and obviously. I was just about to touch on him. Obviously, we get Isaiah Pacheco back, the speed demon, the monster himself. Just giving a guy back like that, bringing so much ore back to the locker room. A guy that's well loved in Chiefs Kingdom, not only for what he does on the field, but just what he does in the community, how he shows love to everybody. So good to have a player back like this, who puts a lot of heart and passion to what he does. He's going to help out the offense, obviously, a ton. The offensive line is blocking very well in the run right now. We're number one at run success through 12 weeks. So that's very important and key. You get a guy back like Isaiah Pacheco, that speed is going to be crazy. Kind of mixing him with Kareem Hunt and P. Ryan, having those three guys, guys are going to be able to lean on each other and complement each other very well. So I'm definitely excited to get him back as well. I know it's not really, I know people are excited and they've been talking about it, but the things that he does in this offense, are very dynamic. He has a different understanding of the offense than Kareem Hunt. And I do like Kareem Hunt, but I also like the speed, threat that Isaiah Pacheco brings in the screen and the passing game, as well as the run game. So, it's exciting to get guys back like this. I just think we need to dominate the trenches. 15's been showing up, so let's get him comfortable and keep him going. The receivers have to get open as well. We got to find a way to be one-on-one coverage. That's another key for me. I know we got D Hop and he's been playing well and getting and doing his thing a little bit, but we got to find some consistency there. And I'd love for us to hit a shot or two with Xavier Worthy. I know
Yeah.
we've been working in on that. So hopefully those guys can get that connection going and we continue to see the offense go stride for stride.
Yeah, I think this game is real simple to me. I don't think you really have to have anything too complex as far as the game plan. Take care of the ball. One for sure, because we've seen with this what can happen. Especially in games like this. Last year, the Raiders obviously walked in on Christmas Day and then stole the presents from you because you didn't have that emphasis in that ability to take care of the ball. You turned it over, basically gave them, two touchdowns for real, spotted them 14 points. So taking care of the ball, I think is one of the biggest ones. Also, winning into the trenches. This is a game I feel like you should dominate the trenches. You're the better. You have the better offensive line. You have the better defensive line, in my opinion, as well too. You're just overall better team. Not saying that not calling for a blowout or anything like that, but I do believe this is a game where you should be able to go in here and dominate this and get a win, and you know and be able to beat your rivals in at the up until this point. Love the dynamic of Isaiah Pacheco coming back to this offense. You always love having that change of pace back there. Kareem has been fantastic for us, but I do think it's getting to a point where there's a lot of wear and tear on his body up until this point. And I'm proud of him for being able to carry what we've been able to give to him at this point. But it's nice to have Isaiah come back and be able to have that speed kind of threat to this backfield once again. I think it's gonna, to me, in my opinion, gonna be one of the better backfields going into the playoffs up until this point with having P. Ryan, Pacheco, and Hunt, three guys that I feel like kind of all do similar things, but do a little bit different things for you for this offense.
Yeah,
So
it was cool to see P. Ron, man. He played very well last week.
yeah. So having all three of those guys now locked in and ready to go, fresh legs are always a benefit to this team. Pop is definitely going to come back ready to play, and ready to lay some hits out there on some people at this point. So, um, very proud of him for coming back and fighting through adversity with the injury and getting himself healthy to come back and help us, with this playoff push and three-peat and getting that accomplished. Um, I guess we'll move to score predictions. What you feel like this game is gonna turn out to be, man?
Um, I think we get off to a fast start. Um, I think they'll probably start pressing pause during like the end of the third. So I'll say like I think it's a two-score game. I'm not gonna give a score prediction, but I think it's a two-score game.
Yeah, it seems like going into these predictions, especially about these games, especially with the Chiefs and the nature of how they play these games. They tend to play with their food a lot
Yeah,
when they could really just go out and just put the hammer down and put a team away. Um, I hope that that's something that they do, especially this Black Friday against this team. I always love blowing out the Raiders. They're the most hated rival I think that we have at this point. So it's always good to stump a mud hole in your rival and really prove
absolutely.
a point to them. But of course, I won't predict a blowout just because we all know what this team is, man. Um, I'll say I trolled a little bit last night on our other podcast, and I said 23-21. But I'll be a little bit more realistic. I feel like on this side of it, and I'll say 27-13. I think with Aiden O'Connell stepping in, I'm not really too confident of how that Raiders offense is going to look. I know it looked a little, to me, in my opinion, looked a little bit better with Gardner Minshew being back there and being a veteran, being able to handle the game plan. I just think thrusting Aiden O'Connell in, especially off of injury reserve and with the hand issue. I'm not really sure if it's his throwing hand or not, but if it is, I feel like that can also create a problem. It's going to be extremely cold on Black Friday as well. So I'm not sure how that they'll be able to handle that. So the Raiders have to step out here and play in the elements of Arrowhead.
Yeah,
I
it's
think that's something.
not playing in no dome. So
Yeah, I think that's something that could play in the Chiefs' favor. Of course, they know how to play in it. I expect this offense to move the ball extremely well, kind of how they did. Those first that especially in that first half against Carolina. Um, I know that the pass rush, obviously, Max Crosby is a guy that you got to circle on a game plan and really have something drawn up for him. I think the last time we faced him, we did a really good job of limiting his pressure and his plays. And I think that that'll be the same this week. But this was also a game when we faced them last time where YN Morris kind of struggled on the other side, especially in the first half against some of those other pass rushers for the Raiders. So
yeah,
I think it's in really imperative for them to game plan around that, keep Pat protected. I know YA is battling right now through injury at this point, but you got to be able to step up if you're healthy enough to get out there on the field. Got to give it 100% effort at this point, and so we'll see what happens, man. We'll go. Give me your X factor for this game. Who do you think has a big game, and who you think is makes the biggest impact?
um, I'm going to have to say I think just the consistency that Justin Watson brings on the field. I know not a fan favorite of everybody, and he's not going to have too many pretty stats, but I think he's one of those guys that just come in and do his job very well. Not asking, for you to be 100 yard game guy. Just you make a mistake, he made up for it, got a catch, made a good block. Stuff like that is important. I feel like he's just gonna have some of those moments in the game where he's making that extra effort. Things are like that, or what championship teams are made of. We got guys like that. I was gonna say DeAndre Hopkins, but I just think him and himself. I think he brings a different attitude to this team, and I think his impact on the offense is talked about, but it's not really noticed as much. With the dangers of a DeAndre Hopkins and having a Worthy on the field at the same time, with the speed and then the talent aspect with from the receiver position, he's really made a big impact as well. But I'm looking at guys that got to get down and do the dirty work and do some of those things and clear out routes and run down the field and run back. Stuff like that is important. So I'm looking at guys like Justin Watson, and then defensively, I would just say that whole front seven in general, they ought to be better. Nick Bolton been playing, fell off a little bit. I like to see those guys just fill those gaps and get in those running lanes and do those little things, because if we can't do that, we will struggle. So I want to see the trenches win. One of my things, I want to see Justin Watson kind of get more targets, and I think after seeing that game that he had, I think he'll be in line for some targets. I want to see Worthy get hit down the field a few times. I want to see the offense be efficient, and I just want to see the trenches win on both sides.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be very nice to see, man. I think if they win on both sides, and especially in the trenches, this game shouldn't be close at all. Um,
Absolutely.
my biggest X factor, I think, and I've been trying to call it, but I think we're on the horizon of it here soon. I think Xavier Worthy's gonna have a 100 yard game at some point in this season. The uptick in his not only his snaps but in his targets as well too. You can see that chemistry between him and Patrick is really growing. I think they're starting to trust him a lot more on some of the stuff that they trusted Rasheed Rice with last year. As the season went on, a lot more routes that I see that they gave Rasheed Rice last year, they're kind of giving to him as well this year, especially later on the season. And I think it's an even bigger impact with the way that his speed translates to the game. To this point, I think it's a huge mismatch for them. I, I think this is a game that he can really exploit some of that the Raider secondary.
Yeah.
I feel like right now,
That's horrible.
yeah,
They're horrible.
I don't think they're very good. So I think that you could see some shots down the field, and hopefully they're able to hit on some of those. I think that leads, if they're able to do that, I think that leads to a very long day for this Raiders secondary to this point. So that's my X factor, man. Xavier Worthy, I'm praying on it. 100 yard game. I know it's coming soon. We've seen it a couple times when as Rasheed Rice was going through his rookie season of what he was able to do, and I think Xavier Worthy's having that kind of same trajectory and role this year for the Chiefs. Maybe a little bit earlier than they would have liked it to be, but still, man, so still great. We do got to talk about one thing, one bit of news. We did get to see Hollywood Brown is back in the practice facility. Looks like he may be on ahead of schedule. Seen him working on the jugs machine, catching one-handed passes, kind of
Yeah.
using that shoulder or whatever. What do you project? Let's go with a projection. When do you project him to be back on this roster again?
I would like to see him earlier than later. And because, I don't want the team to get into a rhythm and then they have to work him back in and, kind of go back on certain things. I think once they find a pace for the playoffs, I want to see make sure that he's and my wish is that he's good to go during that playoff prep. And being in the game before the playoffs is important. To just to get that feel back and understanding back. He hasn't even played a snap for us yet this year, so it's exciting. But I do, hopefully he's back sooner than later, so he's able to get that time and that feel back. And then we're able to incorporate him in the playoffs and kind of use him a little more. He'll be a little bit more dangerous when you know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it looks. It seems as though the rumors going around. It seems as though the timeline is set for probably December 21st, which is the Texans game.
Hmm.
Arrowhead. I, I I would say it's probably more likely that it's probably the Steelers game on Christmas, but I could be wrong. He could, surprise all of us really and be back and be ready for that Texas game, which I think is perfect. It gives you about 3 weeks until the season is up. That I think they could really ramp up and get him some snaps, and then have him ready, really to go for the playoffs. I think it'll add it to me, in my opinion, it adds a huge dynamic for this offense, giving you
Absolutely.
another speed threat. I feel like that a guy that can win downfield, and also another guy that is a capable route runner in his career at this point, and being able to get open and helping this offense have a little bit more explosion, which I think is tough to game plan for. Especially once you get in the playoffs and Andy Reid is able to open up that full playbook and go to deep in the bag with the plays. So excited,
Absolutely.
man! Excited to see Hollywood Brown,
Let's go,
returning,
Hollywood.
rehabbing. Man, hopefully we can get him out there on the field. But we'll transition now, man, to week 13. Man, we 13 weeks into this season, man. This season
Crazy,
been
man.
flying by. I feel like we just got started, but we already there, man. And of course, this is the week 13 slate. Obviously, we get 3 games tomorrow with Thanksgiving. Hopefully, everybody has a tremendously great holiday, spends it with their family, stay safe out there, drink responsibly, please. But what what's gonna be your day like tomorrow, man? Watching these games, obviously, we get Bears and Lions early in the morning, and then
Do the Bills
Giants.
and the Niners play this week?
Yeah, Bills and Niners are on this week. Yeah, that's a Sunday night game.
I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
yeah.
I'm gonna be watching that game for sure.
Mm-hmm.
See how the outcome of that game will be interesting, especially see if Purdy and Bosa comes back.
Hmm.
Um, that Falcons and that Chargers game just got a little bit more interesting with the Chargers
Yep.
losing to the Ravens.
Hmm.
I'd say Baltimore and Eagles game, that's going to be intriguing as well. See if Saquon can keep it up against that Baltimore defense, which I
Yep.
don't think is that good. And then everything else, I feel like is pretty clear straight. We'll be keeping our eyes on that Miami game as well to see if they can
Yep.
find a way to play in the cold. But my prediction for them is missing the playoffs. I said that before the year started and everything got happened. So I just don't know if they're going to be able to pull it out during this cold weather, but we'll see.
Yeah.
The Steelers and the Bengals. A lot of people are riding the Steelers wave. I think that the Bengals are going to beat them. I called I called the Browns against the Steelers last week.
Right.
Everybody said I was crazy. I just the Steelers haven't shown me enough to where they feel like a clear cut winner, and
Hmm.
I think Joe Burrow's playing so well. And when you got receivers like that and the quarterback is playing like that, it's only so long, so much you can do for so long. And I just don't think that, the Steelers are playing as well as advertised. But, we'll see. But
Yeah.
definitely some good matchups this week.
Yeah. A lot of good matchups on this slate. Obviously tomorrow having 3 games, Bears and Lions. I think it's something I'll put my eye on for a little bit. Definitely like watching the Lions. Love watching Jameer Gibbs play. I think he's one of the more dynamic players in this league, so it's always fun watching him. Um, Intrigued to see what Caleb Williams, how he handles this environment. This will be his first Thanksgiving Thanksgiving Day game, and especially on the road after tough loss for them last week against the Vikings in overtime. So kind of excited to see how he responds to the adversity. If he can walk into Detroit and maybe ruin Thanksgiving. I think for what would be the third year in a row. I think for them since the coach, I forget his name. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Detroit Lions head coach since he's been there. Um, But yeah,
Big Dan, Big
yeah,
Dan.
Big Dan Campbell. Yeah, man. Since he's been there, I don't know if they. I don't think they've won on Thanksgiving since he's been there.
Mm.
So I think this is the first, good opportunity for them to try to break that curse and get a win. Make the city of Detroit really happy on Thanksgiving morning. Obviously, you rolled into Giants versus Cowboys. Tommy DeVito versus Cooper Rush. I'll definitely be taking a nap. Maybe maybe sliding a piece of sweet potato pie on my plate or whatever, and then crashing for a nap and getting myself prepared for ultimately was the nightcap is and Dolphins and Packers. I feel like it's gonna be the better game. I don't know if a lot of Chiefs fans know, but if there is a scenario that if the Chiefs do win on Friday and the Dolphins lose to the Packers on Thursday night, the Chiefs clinch a playoff spot and will be in the playoffs and will have that wrapped up. So um,
Gotta be
kind
dope.
of kind of praying that the Packers can go ahead and get it done. Intrigued to see how the Dolphins again handle the cold weather. As we seen the last time Tua played in cold weather, we saw how those results went. Excited to see what the Dolphins can actually do. If they can actually go up there and get a big victory for themselves and keep their playoff hopes alive. Another intriguing game I'm actually looking forward to, and I think a lot of people may be sleep on it, but that Cardinals and Vikings game I think can be a big game as well too. A lot of playoff implications for that game. A lot of people who probably thought those two teams wouldn't be in the playoff race at the beginning of the year and now are. So a lot of playoff implications for that game. Eagles and Ravens obviously is going to be a dynamic matchup. I think of two of the best teams in the league, two the best. Well, to me, in my opinion, the best running backs in the league going up against each other, and Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. So see who runs the ball better in that game. I think is who's going to end up winning the game
Yeah.
for them. And then Niners versus Bills. I know Niners come into Sunday night a little banged up. Brock Purdy didn't play last week, so hopefully they be able to get him back this week. But I think it's a game for the Bills to either prove to the world that that they can stay on pace with us to fight for that one seed, or will this be that game that the Niners kind of right the ship and able to kind of turn this season around and get some momentum going later on to the season and try to make a big playoff push here towards the end of the year. So yeah, a lot of good games. Week 13, man. Obviously, like we said, Thanksgiving is tomorrow. Got a lot to be thankful for this year, man. It's been up and down year for me for sure, but I'm still here. I'm still breathing. God is great, and I couldn't ask for more at this point. Gotta enjoy time tomorrow with my families, both sides, my wife's side, my side. Just sit back and enjoy family and be thankful and eat a lot, man. So hopefully you do the same as well, Trizzy.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
you know, like I said to everybody out there, just me and Trizzy tonight. So podcast wasn't gonna be too long. We didn't want to be in front of y'all too long. Obviously, we know people got plans and probably traveling on the road. If you tuned in tonight and listened to us, we appreciate you.
Definitely, man.
For
Appreciate
sliding
y'all.
through and listen to us rap a little bit about about the Chiefs. Of course, you can follow us Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can find podcasts, Facebook, Twitter. Follow us at Arrowhead AM and PM. And you can listen to the show the day after on Spotify and Apple and all your streaming platforms to listen to us on there if you missed the show tonight. Um, Tracy, any last words you got for him, man, as we close
No,
out tonight?
nah, man. Y'all be safe, man. Enjoy your families. Love on your loved ones. Spread some love. Call your people. And then eat some good food and then rest up and make sure you get ready a little early because we play at 2 o'clock. So what I'm saying, make sure y'all get up and show the
Yeah, for
boys some
sure.
love on Friday. Make sure you read that red, but more importantly, just enjoy your families tomorrow. This weekend, and Just take those moments, and cherish them. So go Chiefs, baby. We so glad that y'all tuned in tonight. We appreciate y'all. We know it's a lot going on with the holiday moving around and stuff. So we just appreciate y'all.
I was trying to find it. There was here we go. There's one last thing, man. Before we get out of here, Thanksgiving tomorrow. Start, bench, cut. What you think about this list, man? He's starting Patrick Mahomes, quarterback of the Chiefs. Obviously, starting the mac and cheese. He said he's gonna bench the yams, and cut the turkey. How you feel about this,
I ain't too mad at it. I would have cut the yams and put the turkey on the bench, but
bro? Okay.
I'm not really a yams guy. But mac and cheese definitely first, so I ain't mad at
Yeah, look, hey, just make sure you give me the mac and cheese and slide the greens on there with it as well too.
it.
Gotta have the yams, the turkey. I kind of understand. Maybe you've had some turkeys they've been a little bit dry because not everybody can cook turkey, or whatever. But man, cutting the turkey that was a little bit rough for me. But anyway, it is what it is, man. Glad to see he's enjoying his Thanksgiving, and hopefully he has a great time with his family as well too, man. So like I said, we appreciate y'all, man. Uh, we'll be back again after Black Friday, probably next Wednesday, same time as always, man. Come through and check us out. Follow us, like I said, on Arrowhead AM and PM for Spaces. Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 o'clock. On Twitter, we talk ball, everything from Chiefs to every other team around the league. So come in, talk ball with us, man, and chop it up with us, man. But enjoy you guys this Thanksgiving, man. Happy holidays. Be safe. Drink responsibly. Gamble responsibly, man, and enjoy your time, guys.
Cheers.
Peace. Jeez.
I put it all on my shoulders. Give 100 till it's over. I told you.